the name of the book. So this is the homework machine, and right now Sam is talking. So school ends and we figure that we gotta.
What chapter?
Oh, chapter 10. So school ends and we figured that's that. We got away with it. When we went into the principal's office for that meeting, we all played dumb. Homework machine? What homework machine? We pretended we didn't know what he was talking about. There is no evidence. Nobody could prove that. This is Sam's mom talking. I was dusting his room and I noticed that a nice new computer wasn't there anymore. So I asked Sam where it was. He said Brendan asked for it back. I never called to check to see if that was true. And this is Police Chief Rebecca Fish. In early June, 2 backpackers came across some junk scattered around the bottom of the canyon, not far from the river. It had obviously been dropped off the rim. Luckily, the stuff didn't land on them. The backpackers alerted the park ranger. He contacted me. Most of the pieces were too small to identify, but a few things looked like they might have been a part of a computer. Who chucks a computer onto the Grand Canyon? I put out the word to all the companies, organizations, and schools within 10 miles. We had a strict rule against dumping debris in a national park.
Debris.
Oh, debris.
Mm-hmm.
Debris in a national park, you know. Visitors want to see nature, not somebody's trash.
Do you know what debris is? It's like trash.
Yeah. And this is Miss Rasmussen. I was washing the dinner dishes when our principal, Mr. Wilson, called and told me about pieces of a computer being found in the canyon. I didn't want to think that my students had anything to do with it, but I couldn't help but wonder. I told him I had a theory about what happened. I guess he made a few phone calls. And then this is Judy Douglas talking. That was probably the most humiliating experience of my life. School was just let out for the summer, and 4 of us were called into the sheriff's office. We didn't know why. Our parents had to come, and Miss Rasmussen was there too. They sat us down at the big table, and in the middle of the table was a piece of belch, the busted up keyboard. Nobody had to say a word. We knew what had happened. And this is Sam Dawkins talking.
So what they're saying, we knew what had happened. So what had happened?
They're the ones that chucked the computer over the edge.
So that when they say we knew what happened, do they mean they knew that somebody traced the computer back to them?
Yeah.
No.
And this is Sam Dawkins talking. So they asked if anybody had anything to say. We just all sat there, not looking at each other. We could have blamed the whole thing on Brenton. I have to admit the thought crossed my mind. He invented the thing, right? And he couldn't keep the secret. He invented the catapult too, but I couldn't rat him out. Brenton was my friend. They had no evidence to tie us to the keyboard. It could have been anybody's keyboard. We could have gotten away with it. But then Judy just burst into tears and the jig was up. This is Kelsey talking. Judy started to cry, so I got up and said, "It was all my fault. I did it. Look, Brendan and Judy are geniuses, and they shouldn't be prevented from going to college or doing something great with their lives because they made one stupid mistake in 5th grade. I didn't want Nick to take their rap either. After his dad died just a few months ago." And this is Miss Rasmussen talking. After Kelsey confessed, Judy shouted out that Kelsey was lying and that she was responsible for the whole thing. Everybody was shocked. I couldn't imagine Judy doing something like that. Then Brent started yelling, "No, no, it was all my idea." The four of them started arguing about which one of them was the most to blame. And instead of blaming each other, they all blamed themselves. They were all apologizing at once. I had never seen anything like it. Thinking it all over, I decided somebody was really to blame. Me. I should have known what was going on months earlier. I was naive.
Naive. That's
I was
another word. I'm gonna put that word down. You know what naive means?
I was crazy.
Nope. Naive means that I should have known, but I didn't know, or I didn't want to admit I knew. Okay, that means like like you know that you need to take a shower every day because you're stinky, but if you say that I can take a shower like every 3 days, it's being naive because you're like not admitting that you're stinky and you need a shower. It's like you know, but you don't want to admit it.
I should have been more on top of things. They did it right under my nose. I so wanted my students to be successful, and I wanted to think they were successful because of my teaching. I guess the sad truth is that I still have a lot to learn about teaching. I can't be so trusting with students in the future. I'll be more careful next year. I told the kids they didn't have to go off and invent a homework machine because a homework machine already existed. It's called your brain. And this is Police Chief Rebecca Fish. When the kids were called into my office, that threw a scare into them. They confessed to everything. They seemed genuinely sorry for what they did, so I went easy on them. Made them hike down to the bottom of the canyon on a hot day to clean up the mess. Took him all day. Then I made him confess into the office over the summer and say what happened, so we got in on a record. Far as I'm concerned, this case is closed. And this is Kelsey Donald talking. I figured that was the end of it. School was over, summer was here. I couldn't be seeing Snicker, Judy, Brenton ever again until summer. I didn't know why, but I dyed my hair brown again and it took out the belly button ring. I guess I thought it was stupid. And this is Judy Douglas talking. We're leaving the sheriff's office and I knew that I didn't say anything. I wouldn't see any of them for 3 months. So I worked up courage and walked up to Brenton's house and asked him if he wanted to go out with me. What would that entail? That's just the way he put it. What would that entail? He cracked me up. I told him that we might get together over the summer, get some ice cream or pizza or hang out and walk and stuff. He said that sounded good to him. I guess we were going out. I think so anyways. And this is Brent Damagachi talking. In honor of the beginning of summer, I decided to part my hair on the opposite side of my head. I really don't care about the way I look, but I read on some website that when you flush a toilet in the southern hemisphere, the water swirls clockwise. And when you flush the toilet in the northern hemisphere, the water swirls counterclockwise. So I thought it'd be interesting to part my hair in the opposite directions during the summer and winter months. And Gigi liked it better this way too. This is Sam Dawkins talking. I was thinking it over. In the beginning of the year, we all thought Brenton was a dork of the highest order. But then I decided that Brenton was probably the coolest kid I've ever met, and that includes me. Coolness doesn't come from having cool stuff or hanging around with cool people. It's not cool to try to be cool. It's cool not to try to be cool. Brenton just does his own thing. He's one of these guys who is so uncool that he's cool. You know what I mean? You reach a point where you cross the line into coolness. Anyways, after school ended, I decided to call him up and say, and he said, to do what? We don't have any homework. And I said, I don't know. You want to play a game of chess? And he said, okay. This is Kelsey Donald talking. I never thought I'd hear from Judy, but she called me up right after school ended. She said that Brenton and Snick were going to play chess over at Brenton's house, and she was going too, and did I want to come? Brenton's parents were at home, but my mom said it was okay. It was okay, so I said sure. By the time I got there, Snick and Brenton were already going at it hot and heavy. All the year long, Snick refused to play Brenton, and now they were finally playing each other. I mean, it was intense in there. It was like the Super Bowl of chess. The two of them were staring at the board so hard I thought it was going to burst into flames. I didn't say a word. All I knew about chess was that Miss Rasmussen told us. I counted up the pieces on both sides, and Brenton had one more pawn than Snick. That was the only difference, so I knew it was a close game. Ever so often, Brenton would mutter something mysterious like Classilense defense?
What's that?
Classilensen?
Let's see. No, classic Sicilian defense.
Oh, classic Sicilian defense.
Yes. It's Sicily is a country.
Well, or the old Beacon Gambit. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm not sure if Snick did either. And this is Judy Douglas talking. I was sweating and fidgeting and talking to himself. Brenton was sweating and fidgeting and talking to himself. I couldn't believe Snick was giving him a good game. I remember thinking back in September how Snick was so dumb, and now he was holding his own at chess with the smartest guy maybe in the whole world. I was rooting for Brenton, of course, because he was my boyfriend.
She was what for Brenton?
She was rooting.
Rooting, okay. Do you know what that means? Like cheering for him?
Mm-hmm. You always do that.
Yeah, I always cheer for you.
And this is Kelsey Donald talking. We took a break to eat some cookies Miss Damagachi had left, and I noticed that Brenton and Judy were holding hands. Holding hands? So I say, were you two going out or what? Brenton just looked out all embarrassed, but Judy said, yeah, we're going out. I knew it! So while after they were being a lovey-dovey with each other, Snick came over to me and asked if I wanted to go get ice cream or something after the game. Can you believe that? Sam Dawkins actually asked me out. I tried to be cool about it and said, are you just asking me out because Brenton and Judy are out, or do you really want to go out with me? And he said, I really want to go out with you, and I wanted to ask you out ever since school started, but I was too shy. Him? Shy? Unbelievable. I couldn't resist giving Snick a hard time, and I said, you need Brenton Damagachi to give you the courage to ask a girl out. How pathetic. And I said, sure, I'd go out with him. And this is Brenton Damagachi talking. It reminded me of the classic Parvorcochinio.
What's that? It reminded you of the classic Karpov okay, what it is, it's Karpov and Korchnoi, Korchnoi. I suppose they're two famous chess players. So it says, it reminded me of the classic Karpov-Korchnoi game in 1978. There you go.
I tried a queenside advance, but Snick had two aligned bishops. clogging up the middle of the bowl. I offered him a poisoned pawn, but he was too smart to fall into the trap. Snick doesn't make dumb mistakes the way he used to. He was a much stronger player than he had been a few months earlier. I was up to one piece, but he had the stronger position. I kept looking at the board, trying to come up with something that would trip him up. It was hopeless. Finally, I tipped over my king and we shook hands. He had beaten me. This is Sam Dawkins talking. I tried to be cool about it, but he was impossible. My heart was jumping out of my chest. I had beaten Brenton Damagachi, the kid who was so smart that he got every kid in America to wear red socks to school. If I can beat him, that must mean I'm pretty smart too. And this is Judy talking. So Snick beat Brenton. I thought nothing could beat that. But suddenly the doorbell rang. Brenton asked me to see who it was. I opened the door and there was a guy in a suit standing there. He looked familiar to me, but I couldn't place the face. He sticks out a hand and says his name is Richard Milner. This is Kelsey Donald talking. Judy let out this scream from the front hallway. We heard the door slam and we all came running over. She was hysterical.
Hysterical?
Hysterical.
Do you know that word?
She was in shock.
Hysterical means that she was kind of she's a little uncontrollable, hysterical, like screaming, hey, somebody come look, like hysterical, like something scared her and she's screaming.
She was hysterical. She said it was that guy that she saw on the street. I asked her what his name was and she said it was Milner. Milner! That guy who was stalking me from online. He was right outside the door. I freaked out. This is Sam Dawkins talking. Kelsey starts screaming. Call the police! Call 911! I didn't know what to do. Judy and Kelsey were screaming and crying and running around like an asteroid was about to hit the house. They said the guy with the FBI or the CIA, and that guy. They said the guy was They said the guy was with the FBI or the CIA, and we would all be going to jail. I looked around for a baseball bat or something I could hit the guy with if he tried to break down the door. And this is Brenton Damagachi talking. I opened the door. What else could I do? The man was just standing there. And this is Sam Dawkins talking. So Brenton opens the door, and I asked the guy if he was the FBI. He says no. Brenton asked him if he was with the CIA, and he says no. I can't take any more, so I asked the guy who he is and what he wants from us. He says nobody's in trouble and we didn't do anything wrong. He calmed the girls down a little. And this is Judy Douglas talking. The guy showed us his business card. He said he was in the marketing business and he worked for a company that sells stuff for kids. I asked him why he would be stalking us and said he wasn't stalking anybody. He simply just wanted to talk to us. And this is Sam talking. I asked the guy what kind of stuff he sells to kids. He said everything. Breakfast, cereal, toys, toothpaste, clothes, video games, music. So I asked him what does that have to do with us? This is Kelsey Donald talking. This guy says he's been looking for kids who influence other kids, like kids are the first to do stuff, and then everybody else starts doing the same stuff. The kids who start trends. He's been trying to talk to us for a long time, he said, because he thought of Red Sox Day and Inside Out Day were brilliant and effective marketing plans. If Brent could get every kid in America to wear Red Sox to school, he said, imagine how much breakfast cereal his clients could sell. Imagine how many toys, clothes, tubes of toothpaste, video games, and CDs his clients could sell. He said he would pay Brenton if he would help him. And this is Sam Dawkins talking. I'm thinking, how much? I mean, this could be bigger than make homework. And this is Judy Douglas talking. Basically, the guy wanted Brenton to help him trick kids. He wanted Brenton to spread out the word that certain products were cool, so his clients could make more money. I didn't think it was very nice, and I told him so. I told him that kids don't need anyone to tell them what to buy. Most toys are just junk anyways. We can make up our own minds about which video games to play and CDs we should listen to. We can make up our own minds about what's cool. But of course it was Brenton's call. He invented the machine. He was the computer genius. And this is Brenton Damagachi talking, the last paragraph in the story. I thought it was over. I told the guy I'd like to go into business with him. Judy was really mad. Then I told the guy I didn't want to sell toothpaste and I didn't want to sell clothes or CDs or video games. He says, well, what do you want to sell? I told him, I want to sell some product to the kids of the world. I want to sell an idea, a really good idea that I've been working on my mind, in my head. The guy was all excited. He asked, what's the idea? What's the idea? I looked around like it was a big secret that I didn't want anyone else to hear. Then I whispered in his ear, do your homework. Then the guy left. I didn't think he'll be bothering us anymore.
And that was it?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And that's the whole book, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think the best part was?
Like, the most exciting part? Oh. I think it's whenever Brenton tells the police that he invented the homework machine.
Is that right? So you don't think they really got in all that much trouble? Or did they get into a lot of trouble?
They didn't get in all that much trouble.
But they were scared.
Yeah, because like the police called them over, and then they thought they were gonna go to like jail or something, but they just had to clean up the trash.
Gotcha. Did you like that story?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. All right, so I guess that's the end of it. We love you, Marie.
Love you, Marie.
Let's see here. I'm gonna find it. All right, we smooch. Bye, Marie. We love you.